Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Saturday Night Fever live stream. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the nitrogen cycle, all those wonderful things: ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate, beneficial bacteria. Of course, Chattanooga Ed, thank you for being here, my awesome co-host. I appreciate you being here, and I love hanging out with you, buddy. I think we're in for a fun time tonight.
Yep.
Okay, I was making sure that I could that you were not muted. All right.
Oh,
I'm going to go through. Oh no, that's fine. I'm going to go through and say some hellos real quick as soon as I can get my chat back. I do want to say we had not Grumpy Mike anymore. Mike's Aquatics and Things had the $1 super chat before the stream even started. It is up beyond where I can scroll to. Thank you, Mike. I really do appreciate that, buddy. It was always good to see you, and I really enjoyed that video you had on those shell dwellers. Still really jealous, but I'm glad that you got them. No, Cat, we're not doing this tonight. All right, far up as I could go is Pegasus Arena, Monster Fish Gal, Mike's Aquatics and Things, all in tanks. Rico, Stan, Shy Gal, Mrs. Fever is in the chat as well. All in tanks. Good to see you. Select Pet, what is going on, my friend? Rolling and scrolling through here. Tim Carter, hi, how are you? T-Bones Fishies. Wow, goodness. All right, I think the cat is gone now. Hopefully he will stay out for the rest of the night. John Cox, Tampa Tom Fishing. Appreciate you being here. BJ Palmer says, took a while. Hi, everyone. How are y'all tonight? Ready for Fishroom Fever. Ready to be here. Gonna have some fun tonight. Rolling through Darlene's Tanks. What is up? I know I missed a couple people when I did that scroll through. Sean Chadwick, hello. Mr. Fish, sir. Appreciate you being here as well. Delilah's Critters, Black Label Carling. And everybody, I miss Cooper Aquatics. Yeah, I was talking to Cooper well before the stream started, but that was way up where I couldn't get to. Kevin Marquise, hello. So I personally feel that the nitrogen cycle, learning the cycle, learning how to cycle your tanks, that, in my opinion, is the number one thing that anybody needs to learn. You could argue, it's researching your fish or learning compatibility. Well, if you find out what fish are compatible and you stick them in a tank and you don't know how to cycle a tank, chances are you kill your fish, or at least it's highly possible. If you look into, well, what size tank do I need for the fish? You can do all this research on the fish, find out what they need, what temperature, what size tank, all of that stuff. And if you don't know about the nitrogen cycle, there's potential to just keep killing everything. Well, I researched, I'm doing everything right. I bought the right size tank. The water's the right temperature. I've got the right filtration. I've got all this other stuff going on. And you end up having problems. So I figured this would be a fun topic for tonight. And I know I get a little ranty on parts of the nitrogen cycle. So I will say, forgive me in advance for that, because I know I'll go off on a couple of tangents. But I think it'll be fun, and you're always welcome to throw questions in the chat. If you put @Fishroom Fever, that will highlight it, and we can grab those. John Cox says the problem with the nitrogen cycle is plants can use all forms of ammonia nitrite, but they prefer nitrate. Yeah, so there's a lot of S with $2.99 super chat says Subway. All right, Thank you, S. I appreciate that. Don't get me hungry. All right, stream's over. I'm hungry. We got it. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you. Oh, that one's stuck. I didn't like that. We're going to do another one. But S, I really do appreciate that. There we go. That one did better. It's hanging off the camera. All in tanks is go ahead, buddy.
Maybe S can see the future and can tell that you're going to be in a city with a Subway. And it's buying your tokens from here and there.
There we go. Maybe that's going to some sort of aquatic event next year. That would be nice. That would be. All right. So some of this is very much beginner level. Some of you all don't need to know these things. You already are well aware of them. But this is also, we want to help educate and inform people that are new to the hobby, or maybe they've been in the hobby for a little bit, but they never quite figured out the cycle. So just down to basics, you have got ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. And a lot of times you'll see those differentiated with a capital I in nitrite and a capital A in nitrate. Or if you prefer, you can go nitrite, which is NO2, I believe, and nitrate is NO3. Let me double check that. Yes, nitrite is NO2 and nitrate is NO3. Those are the basic things that you are working with in terms of how do we make this stream grow more? You share it out. You like it. Make sure you're subscribed. You hit that share button. All the buttons. You click all the buttons. You share it out on Facebook or on your community tab or any of those things. That's how we make it grow. I know Thursdays have been really awesome following KG. We've been getting, we hit 200 people the other week. That was a new record for the live stream, so I really appreciated that. But yeah, I mean, that's how we do it. And then we just keep on each and every week. We come back, we try and provide you all with a good show, some entertainment and some information, and hopefully we continue to grow it. Candace's Aquatics is asking, Fishroom Fever, can I have a German blue ram in a 5-gallon? I don't know that. I mean, is that going to be the only thing that you're putting in there as a single German blue ram in the 5-gallon?
I don't think it would be happy even if it was by itself.
Yeah, I don't, because it's just...
They're little, but they like to move around and look at things.
I would advise that you move into a 10-gallon. I'm one of those few people that very rarely says don't do it, but I personally would say don't do it. Just look into a 10-gallon. Honestly, 10 gallons you can usually find cheaper at Petco than even the 5 gallons, especially if you hit them during the $1 per gallon sale, because the 5-gallon that is not applicable towards. So, maybe move into a 10-gallon. If you've got the space to do it, I think, the Petco sale, did it end today or does it end next week? Somebody in the chat will know.
I hope it's next week. Normally, they do that sale during Black Friday, so I would guess it might run through. Well, I hope it's still going because I'd like to buy about 6 more tanks. Yeah,
and somebody had mentioned the 21st, and then somebody mentioned the 27th. So if that sale is still going at Petco with $1 per gallon, that's a great chance to even get you maybe a 20 or 20 long would be really cool. There's not a whole lot of things I really advise going into a 5-gallon. Petzotics / multiple aquariums. Hey, Diego says it ends the 29th. So yeah, so
awesome.
Even if you do just go for a 10-gallon, that's $10 and then tax on it, applicable wherever you are at. And I would recommend moving into that. Just my personal opinion. I'm not going to hate on you, but you asked, and so I have answered. Select Pet with $1 super chat, throwing some poo on the stream, helping to fertilize the plants. I appreciate that very much. Always good to see you, buddy. And thank you for the super chat. If you're here. All right. Zen Ginger dropping all the links, all the things. Are there any cichlids I could put in a 5-gallon? Surely there's got to be some sort of one-off, like micro cichlid, but really, I can't think of anything that you're going to want to have just 1 or 2 that's super small. Because if you let's say you put 1 multi in there, 1 multi, Leolampologus multifasciatus, shell dweller, 1 multi, it's not going to get big, but 1 multi is not going to be happy by itself, in my opinion. It's probably not going to live a wonderful, phenomenal life being by itself. Yes, like Pet says, multis are the smallest. I wouldn't even do that. Again, I'm not going to tell you, no, you can't do it. I would advise against it. Really, I would say just spend the $10 at Petco if at all possible and get a 10-gallon tank, and that opens up a lot of things to you. Hey, Scott, welcome. Amy Sync Aquatics, too. I think I missed you earlier, but appreciate you being here. Peg Sisterina says, Ed Kaya says hi to the kitty.
Yeah, I waved.
All right. I think I caught all the highlighted stuff. So real quick, I'm going to burn through the basics of this. All right. Nitrogen cycle. You're learning. You've got your ammonia, your nitrite, or your NO2, and your nitrate, your NO3. Basically, you have 2 different types of bacteria. Without getting into the scientific names, we're just going to call them BB1 and BB2, beneficial bacteria 1, beneficial bacteria 2. Sorry, there aren't more for the Star Wars fans than we could get into BB8, but we're not going to get into that. Basically, you've got your ammonia, which is introduced through fish poo and things breaking down in your tank. when you're starting to cycle a tank, you need to have a level of ammonia in there. And we'll talk about how you can achieve that here shortly. But what you want to do is you want to get some ammonia in that water column. When you get that ammonia in that water column, you're going to start to culture your beneficial bacteria 1, BB1. That beneficial bacteria is going to then convert your ammonia. It's going to chew up your ammonia, and it's going to poo it out as nitrite. We're just going to simplify this down to the easiest terms here. Once you get nitrite in your system, you will then start to culture beneficial bacteria 2. And BB2 is then going to come through. It's going to chew up the nitrite, and it's going to poo out nitrate. Now, once you get it to nitrate, that is when you are looking to either remove it via water changes or help to control it with lots of live plants. And even then, you're still, water changes are a thing. If you're looking for the perfect system, while it is achievable, it's not the most common thing you'll find in the hobby. Even like LRB with his hundreds of tanks with no filters and no air, he still does water changes. But those are the basics of it. There's a balance of trying to achieve the correct amount of all these bacterias. So you're getting your tank set up, you've got your ammonia, it starts getting converted over by BB1 to nitrite. BB2 then starts to develop and convert it into nitrate. What you're looking for is a system that's going to, when you test your water, and I do recommend everybody has a master test kit if you're just getting into the hobby. More experienced people may not be necessary. I still recommend you have one on hand. And I put a link in the description. The API Master Test Kit is currently only $22 on Amazon. So if you were looking to get one and you're like, yeesh, they're $35, now's a good time to grab one. I think I did use an affiliate link. So disclaimer, if you click on it, I probably make like 27 bazillion pennies. But I've got that in there. I do recommend that. So you're looking for
that's a great price.
That is. I mean, they're usually like $35.
Yeah, I've seen them as high as 45.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you're getting your tank set up, you're testing your water, or you're taking it into your local fish store to get it tested. You're looking for 0 ppm or 0 part. We'll just simplify it. 0 ammonia, 0 nitrite, and then you're going to have to discern the nitrate level you're looking for. And a lot of that's going to depend upon if you are maintaining a slightly higher nitrate level to help feed your plants, so to speak. Generally, you want it to be as low as possible. One thing I do want to stress while we're talking about nitrates from the get-go, if you test your water and you have fish in the tank, regardless of whether you're trying to cycle your tank for the first time or if maybe it's been up for a while, something happened. Let's say you see a nitrate spike. We'll say 100 parts per million. Again, we're trying to just work with easy numbers here. Doing a massive water change to bring that down is not necessarily a good thing. You definitely want to lower it, but you can also cause damage to your fish by lowering your nitrate too quickly. So if you do 70, and again, we're going to keep basic numbers. I know there can be some back and forth between the actual numbers that would work out in the scenarios, but let's say you've got 100 parts per million. You do a 75% water change and you bring it under 25 parts per million. We're not counting in, oh, my water has some nitrates, or oh, that's not the actual effect. Dropping it by those 75 points from 100 down to 25 parts per million, that's not good for your fish. It can cause issues, almost as bad, if not worse, as having the higher nitrate. So you'll want to do smaller, more consistent water changes to get that nitrate down versus doing one massive water change. Before I get ranty too much further, let's look at Select Pets. Says Fishroom Fever. One question I got a lot about cycling is, why is my tank cloudy white all of a sudden? Quit pouring milk in the tank, John. Select Pet, I've told you, you don't add milk. It's not going to help. You just got to stop doing that. So generally, when we get the why is my tank cloudy, that's usually a bacteria bloom. Generally speaking, leave it alone. It will be fine. It's my personal opinion. Now you'll say people recommend change the water out. The problem with changing the water out, depending upon the cause of it, if you're having a bacteria bloom, is you can actually be feeding that bacteria by adding in fresh water with all the different microelements that are in the water. So you can go, I keep changing my water and it's still cloudy, you know. It's like, well, that's because you keep feeding that bacteria that's blooming and increasing the bloom. Now you can get into. Sorry, go ahead, buddy.
What started it? Is it wood or too much food? Like new wood introduced into the tank?
I've seen a lot of different things cause it. And a lot of times it's where you've got this fresh setup and you have all these, we'll just say, bacteria positive nutrients and things that bacteria is looking for is all now available in this brand new fresh water where nothing's consuming anything. So they want to feed on that. And, you know, we're not talking about like your green water, your algae blooms, or your cyano outbreaks or anything like that. We're just talking about typically when it's cloudy white water, it's a bacteria bloom. You know, if you can get into other things like if you've got a pump and it's spraying micro bubbles back, and that's usually not the cause of it. Though I've seen people have that happen and go, I've got this bloom. And I'm like, no, you've got a pump that's sucking air through an impeller that's creating micro bubbles, and that's why there's bubbles. But I digress. You can, in theory, I've not tried it, but I've heard people say you can get a really, really, really fine mesh filter sock and try and mechanically remove it that way. I've not tried it. I don't know that it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but generally, let your tank settle out. Again, everything that we're doing is looking for balance. We're looking for balance in our nitrogen cycle. We're looking for balance in all of our, you know, fertilizer levels. If we've got plants, our lighting levels, everything is about balance and trying to achieve that proper balance, either via adding or more oftentimes removal. A lot of times we need to remove things to find a balance. We need to remove some fertilizers. We need to remove some light. You know, we need to remove some nitrates out of there potentially.
Have you ever lost any fish from a bacteria bloom? I
have not. I have never lost fish due to a bacteria bloom or due to a failed cycle on a tank. And there are some different things we're going to talk about: fish head cycle, fishless cycle, bottle bacteria, instant cycling a tank, and my personal thoughts on true cycling and bacteria levels, as opposed to saying, oh, my tank cycled. And make sure. Then I thought I saw, there's another highlighted one. The other Tiffany says, Fishroom fever, how much time should we allow between small water changes if the nitrates are high? So if they are high enough to a point that it's likely to start killing off fish, personally, so I've had this happen once. And personally, what I did was I did a small water change, 10-15%, and then I waited several hours. And I kind of watched the fish to see how they were doing. Then I did another small water change, maybe 10-15%, giving several hours in between. The problem is with people's schedules, you may not be able to sit there and go, okay, every 4 hours I'm going to change water. It may be, I've got to change some now, and then I've got to change some when I get back from work in 5 hours, 8 hours, whatnot. And adjust accordingly so that you can bring it down. But definitely don't do the massive water changes. Minimum, I would be doing a total of 25% per day, whether that's 10-12% changes in a day. And the higher it gets, the more you're going to want to speed up that process, I guess is the best way to say that. So maybe if it's, I don't know, we'll say 60 parts per million. I'm not super freaking out about it like I would be at 100 parts per million. So I'm going to change 15% today. I'll change 15% tomorrow, and then I'll do another change. We'll get it back where we want it at. Again, depending on plants. I've heard people say, hey, I wanted it 40 parts per million for my plants, or I won't go over 20 parts per million for my plants. That's one of those individual factors that I can't give you a number that you should have, because there are so many opinions. Once again, in the fish keeping hobby, the only thing we can all agree on is that fish go in the water. Other than that, There are a lot of different ways to do a lot of different things, and I appreciate that. And I don't knock anybody that does it differently than I do. My local fish store, Aquatic Marine, shout out to them. They're 2 minutes from my house. They're on a completely different water source than I am, not even including their actual fancy water system that's like state of the art. But their municipal water source is different than mine. So what would work in my water may not necessarily work in their water. And I'm going to digress into a whole nother thing there. But yeah, to answer that, I would try and do it depending upon where it's at in smaller 10-ish, 15% water changes over a stretched out period of time. Think of it kind of in the sense of trying to acclimate a fish. If you just got a fish shipped into you or you just bought a fish, think of it as having something sensitive. So like my zebra plecos, I took a long time acclimating those bad boys. So kind of think of it in those terms of I really want to make sure that I don't stress this fish with a very rapid change in water parameters and cause an issue while trying to fix an issue. I think a good part of this hobby, especially when you're learning, and we're all still learning, but when you're first getting started, a big part of this hobby is we fix something and we screwed something up at the same time. So we have to kind of go back and go, okay, how do I fix this without creating another problem? So that would be my personal thoughts on that. I do want to say a huge thank you to Fantastic Freaks. It says, hi, James. Ed, you never can know too much about the nitrogen cycle. Always good to get refreshed from time to time. Love the giveaway streams. It may have inspired me to do a giveaway once I hit 400. That is awesome, Fantastic. And a huge thank you for the super chat. Really love what you're doing over there, buddy. We need to have you on the live stream again another time soon. That was a blast. Thank you very, very much for the $10 super chat. And we're going to be looking out. There's something I'm doing tonight. We're starting a new segment. So I want to see exactly where you're at. Fantastic. But I'll kind of look while I'm talking here. Go ahead, buddy.
Next year, hopefully when the COVID goes away, I'll come and visit you maybe next year sometime. Fantastic. When I go visit my family. I haven't seen my family all year long. My uncle and aunt and cousins and all those that live in Iowa, I haven't visited them all year long just because I don't really want to get sick. Not that I think people in Iowa are sick, but, to drive 16 hours is kind of a bummer during this time.
So I was looking for somebody, and we'll get into this segment here in a minute. I was looking for a fifth person to add to this list, and I'm glad I saw you, Fantastic, because I think that you'll fit right in on this. But we'll get there here in a minute. I digress. I'm going to grab a couple more highlighted things as we scroll through here, and then I'm going to start talking about some of the options for how to cycle a tank. Mr. Fisher says, James hooked me up with some good guppy grass, so you don't have to worry about sending me any now.
You know what, Brad? I found out about your order, so I asked James if I could put some guppy grass in it. And I went over to his house and I forgot the guppy grass. Of course.
I bagged some up and shipped it out. Fantastic Freaks has also joined the team again. Welcome back, buddy. I appreciate you becoming a member again. Fantastic. Thank you. I do have a members-only video that should hopefully be done by the time we get done with this live stream. The standard definition version is up, but it's still still private. I'm waiting on the high definition version to finish loading, and then I'll make that available to the members. But thank you very much for that. Fantastic.
Mike said that I'm probably on Top Chat too, and I am. I must be missing things. I'm sorry.
So Petzotics has asked a question that's going to lose all of my subscribers. I'm going to be negative 400 subscribers here by the end of this, and nobody's going to want to listen to a word I said. Petzotics / multiple aquarium says, how are your nitrate levels in your planted tanks, Fishroom Fever? So I will give you the answer that a lot of people will tell you when they've been in the hobby for a while and they know their tanks. I don't work. My fish tanks are my work. So I spend a lot of time looking at my tanks. And I will tell you, like most avid fish keepers and plant keepers, I don't generally check my numbers. Now, people are going to freak out and go, what? You're telling me to test stuff? If you're new, if you're not familiar with how it works, you're not accustomed to how your fish should react, how your plant should look, how your water should look and even smell or lack thereof with the smell. Test your tank till you get familiar with it. far be it from me to tell somebody that's been in the hobby, oh, you should. That would be like me, and I'm not comparing myself to Corey, but Corey is a great example. Corey, you need to test your tanks every week, every single week. He doesn't need to test his tanks. He can look at his tanks and know when there's a problem, as with most people that have been in the hobby a while, familiarize themselves. That being said, Corey has even said one of the very first things he does, if he sees a problem, he pulls out that test kit. And that's exactly why I still encourage people that know their tanks. You know, they don't test every week. They don't keep an eye on their levels because they've got tanks that are set up and maintained, and they have a feel for the hobby. I'll put it that way. You get a feel for it. You really, really do. You don't have to test every week because you've got a feel, you've got a flow, you know, the vibe, as the hip kids would say. But you still need that because when you have a problem, one of the very first things you should do is test your water. That being said, I do my water changes typically once a week on every single tank, 60 plus. And then I go through and I do dose with Easy Green on all the planted tanks, minus the ones that have the hair algae, which I'm working on getting rid of. But I intentionally introduced the hair algae, so it's not an issue of trying to figure out why it happened. It's just a matter of I put it in there, now I'm going to get the crap out. So I don't know for sure.
I test my water before I start filling my tanks, like for my water changes. Especially, I really started hardcore, just decided this a month ago, when Bob went from neutral water to super hard water.
Right.
So now I'll test my water before I put it in the tanks. But I'm the exact same way. I wait till I see something like maybe a smell or see something that just doesn't seem right. You know, the fish are all laying at the bottom of the tank. They're just not acting right.
Yeah, and it may not even be laying at the bottom of the tank thing. It may be, I'm feeding them and I've got one or two that aren't quite as active to go for it. Or I see a plant that maybe it's starting to look yellow or even just not grow as well as normal. You really do get a feel for your tanks when you're looking at them a lot and when you've been doing it for a while. I do want to say welcome to Kevin Marquis. If it's not pronounced Marquis, let me know if it's Marquise. And either way, I'm sorry I didn't get it right, but I appreciate you becoming a member. Very, very cool of you. I am truly humbled and blessed when I see that we even have the memberships, and B, the amount of you all that have been willing to help support the channel and what we do here. When I started this channel, a little over a year ago, I never even dreamed of having members, come this time. My goal was just to get to 1,000 subscribers by my birthday this past July, and y'all killed that. And then they said, "Hey, members," and I'm like, "Well, we'll try it." And you all have blessed me so much. I really, really do appreciate it. I'm always looking for ways to kind of up the game. I know we'd had some interest in potentially having my mother on, which sounds weird if you haven't been in previous streams. But she can do everything from reseal a tank to captain a 50-ton vessel and scuba dive, and all sorts of stuff. And a lot of people are like, we want to talk to her. So I think we're going to set up a members only live stream where you all can talk to her and ask her some questions. And then if everybody likes that and she has a good time, which I'm sure she will, talking to you all, maybe do a public one down the road when we get the schedule opened up a little bit for the public live streams. But just for the members, if that's something you all would like to see, let me know and we can make that happen. Pelton Creek says, I don't test either, James, but I've been on the same well for 16 years. There you go. And again, Kevin, welcome to the team, my friend. Thank you very much.
For sure.
All right. I don't see any other highlighted things. So,
well, can I ask you, how do you feel about test strips versus the little cool bottles?
They're horrible. Throw them in the trash. Get rid of it. No, I'm kidding.
They're
I'm kidding.
So fast. That's what I love about them.
They are super fast.
And I don't spill stuff.
So here's my thought on the test strips. If you're only going to have one thing and you're not going to give in and buy that master test kit, buy one of those. Would you have the 5-in-1 test strips there, Ed?
Yes. I bought these last year they had a special deal where I wanted just ammonia strips for test quick ammonia one. Just you never know.
Right.
And they had buy one get one free. So I ended up buying several because it was just such a good deal.
Absolutely. So yeah, I have nothing against them. I have heard that they aren't as accurate, and I will say those I kind of use as a pre-indicator. So if I dip one of those and the readings look bad, I'm pulling out the master test kit. That being said, I'm usually not testing unless I see a problem anyways, so I want results to be as clear and concise as possible. So I'm just going to grab the master test kit anyways. There's a lot of room for error there though, with the master test kit. You know, you've got specific instructions if you've never used one. You've got certain amount of drops you've got to put into your 5 milliliters of water. You know, you shake it for so long. Some of them you add a second chemical. You shake it for so long. You wait your 5 minutes. There's definitely room for human error in that process. So I like the test strips and the fact that it's pretty hard to screw that up. But I prefer the master test kit for accuracy. T-Bones Fishy says, I test my water once a month. That is all. I don't blame you. And yeah, Peplin's saying, if I was on city water, I would test. So I am one of those nosy people that likes to go online and look at all the reports from my local municipal water source here. And they will put out like alerts for stuff. So like if they're going to be doing an extra chemical dump or, you know, extra refining, there's typically an alert on there. Plus, I'll be honest, I can smell when the chlorine content goes up. And most people can. You turn on the tap and you get that, whoa, that's a really strong smell. And, you know, we expect that after certain things, really bad weather, lots and lots of rain, different things that they add additional treatments for. But generally, you can smell it. And that is one thing. I don't test my tap water all the time, but I do smell my tap water before I use it. You know, I'll turn on the sink, and if it smells highly chlorinated, outside of that normal that I'm accustomed to, then I'm not doing water changes that day. We'll give it a day and see how it smells tomorrow. Darlene's Tanks, good to see you. Says, Fishroom Fever, I test before a water change and after a water change. Am I wasting my time? Also, why was I told to do this? Is there a reason? So I won't say that you're wasting your time. I would say that, again, it goes back to comfort level and how long you've been in the hobby. Knowing what your parameters were before you changed water and after you changed water are very good things to know. Those numbers are very good information to have, especially if you're still getting in the swing of things, so to speak, with your tank. I'm not going to say you're wasting your time. If you, that's a personal thing. So if you've gotten to the point to where you go to test it and you're sitting there going, I already know this is what it's going to test at, and you test it and go, oh, I knew that's what it was going to be. And then after you change it, you test it and you go, I already know this is what it's going to look like. It's the same thing every week. Personally, I would not be testing at that point, but you know, you could follow the better safe than sorry and say, well, I'm still going to do it. As in terms of why you were told to do that, I can't necessarily disagree with telling someone that's just getting into the hobby to do that, because it will bring that awareness to the numbers and kind of get them used to what are the norms? What are my typical numbers for this tank? How much am I typically pulling out of it? And what do I typically have after I've done my water change? That may be the reason. Of course, there's always, depending upon who told you that, if it was the guy at, Joe Schmo Fish Shop, maybe he just wanted to sell you more tests. That's a possibility. I'm not going to say it's not. But if you're to the point to where you're doing your testing before and after every single water change, and you're looking at the tests going, these are the same numbers I see every week. I already know what it's going to be. I'm not having any issues. I'm not having big variances or numbers that are deviating from the status quo, so to speak. I would say you're safe to probably not do that. Just my opinion. And if you feel more comfortable testing before and after, more power to you. We want people to get comfortable in the hobby. And that's part of what allows like Ed and myself to not test all the time. We're comfortable with it. We know how our tank should look, how our water should be, down to the clarity, down to the fish coloration. How is the fish responding? Is it swimming the way that it always swims? Is it eating like it normally does? So if you feel like you should be doing that, or you feel like it's helping you to keep things within normal parameters, I'd say continue to do it. If you feel like you are wasting your time every week because you already know what's going to happen, I would say you could probably stop. Select Pet says, I request the annual report from my water company too. Absolutely not a bad idea at all. Darlene saying, I've been in the hobby for 1 year. Yeah, see, I personally, I would say, having talked to you in chats and seeing you around for quite some time, I would say you are probably to a competency point where you don't need to be doing that. But yeah, like Gina French said, it's good to test a lot if you were new to the hobby. Absolutely agree 100%. If you've been testing this same tank before and after every water change, even we'll say every other week, you've still 25 water changes in a year. You've tested the same tank 25 times before and after. You've probably got a good baseline for what those numbers typically are, and you could probably maybe just go to testing it every other water change if that would make you comfortable. Be like, well, I'm not going to do it before and after every other water change, but I'll do it before and after every other water change, see what the numbers look like there, and see if I need to be testing at that point. Thank you, Zen, for posting the links. I really do appreciate you. Fishymon64 says, hi, Ed and Fishroom Fever. What's going on, Fishymon? Roll up through here. Kevin exactly says, strips are nice for a quick indicator of what's going on. They really are. As like we were talking about before, it's great to be able to just drop those in there and go, ooh, that could potentially be really bad. Let me pull out the master test kit and get a more specific readout.
Yeah. Well, and I have big fingers, and I have a hard time holding the little things without dropping them. So,
right.
And I also, I have over 50 tanks. So, test strip when you think something's bad is so much quicker.
Absolutely. You just take a sample from all 50 tanks, make sure they're all numbered, and drive them down to Petco. No, just kidding.
I do have a whole mess of those free Petco things because they gave them to me for dozens of tanks. So that would probably make them so mad.
And Gina, there's Gina French, said neither are 100% accurate. That's correct. If I need something that is going to be 100% accurate, I'm going down to Aquatic Marine. I'm paying, I think, $4 or $5 for their fancy API machine that puts a little disc in there with your water, and it spins around and it gives you a precise readout of down to the decimal of what your readings are, if I needed to be completely precise with it. But yeah, nothing is, neither one of those are 100% accurate or absolute. I missed one real quick. T-Bones Fishy says, I heard that test kits are not 100% accurate either, but I still use the test kit. It gives me a good indication of water quality. Yes, absolutely. And another thing in terms of accuracy, I'm also looking at the amount of color area that I have to try and match up to a color page. For me personally, finding the correct color is part of the, I'll say the problem, but the hassle of doing it. So if I've got a vial of water that's, this tall by, this wide, and I can hold that up to a piece of paper and go, oh, well, that color really looks like that. That's a lot easier for me and a lot more accurate at that point for me than holding up this little teeny square that's, maybe 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch, and going, I think that's the color. Just a personal thing, but not correct. Both neither one of those are 100% accurate. There's a lot of room for human error.
Well, and there's two major, there's API, and is it Tetra that does that test strip?
I think so. Now, I'm waiting for the day that Aquarium Co-op comes out with one. I know that he's looked into it and worked on it. If Aquarium Co-op comes out with a test strip, I'm buying that sucker.
I'm trying to, because there was one that was way off, and it's the other brand. I think it's what Petco sells. And it was, I'm trying to look up on the phone the other major brand. If it's Tetra. It is the Tetra strips. I don't find them very accurate. So I would not waste my money on the Tetra ones. Just throwing that out there. The API ones are the ones to go with.
All right.
Like I said, PetSmart has deals every so often where you buy one, get one free. And all sorts of stuff.
Absolutely. Always be on the lookout for those deals. Kind of like with fish meds. You see that stuff on a big sale, you go ahead and snag that stuff up so you got it. I think I got everything that was highlighted and a couple things that were not. So let's talk about how to cycle an aquarium. We understand, or at least have a basic concept of the general idea of what a cycle is. It's taking ammonia, fish waste, rotting food, stuff like that, getting beneficial bacteria 1 to turn that into nitrite or NO2, which in turn gets beneficial bacteria 2 to turn that into nitrate or NO3. Then we're removing that by water changes. Again, live plants help keep that down as well. But how do we start that process? Ed, what's your best method, your favorite method for cycling a tank?
Okay. Well, I generally do it 3 ways. My preferred way is an old sponge filter from another tank, packed with beneficial bacteria. And I drop the old one into the new one, or into the new tank. And I might even give it a squeeze, just to really get it going. Do you want to follow on with that, or do you want me to give all 3 of my ways?
We could go with that. So that is my preferred way to do it. I understand when you're just getting into the hobby, that's not necessarily an option. Albeit there are some, local fish stores that'll, hey, here, we'll squeeze out a sponge filter in a bag for you. Or like LRB sells his bag of Momi water, stuff like that.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, but that is definitely one of my favorite ways to do it. I'm using that process right now where I am taking, I don't say taking down, but the 16 tanks that I have on the main rack, 10 gallons, I introduced hair algae into all of them just because I didn't care at the time. It's great for sucking up nitrates, and I don't mind the look of it. Now that I want more room to grow plants that I can give away / sell, I need tanks with no hair algae. So as I'm going through here, I'm pulling, because of course hair algae gets in everything. It's all in the sponge filters. If you're not treating that out of there, you're not manually getting it out of those sponges. I'm having to pull my sponge filters, and I'm actually soaking them in a bleach solution overnight, and then I'm letting them completely dry out. That way I know there's 100% no chance that I'm getting hair algae back in these tanks. In order to do this safely for the fish, I'm taking other extra sponge filters, because Ed, you probably keep extra when cycling like a lot of us do, especially those of us that are into adding more tanks. I always keep extra sponges going in tanks. So I'm taking sponges from tanks that have no hair algae. I'm moving them into these tanks with that I've pulled the sponges. The sponges are going through bleach. It's killing the cycle. There will be no beneficial bacteria left. And so I'm helping to maintain my cycle that way.
I just realized one of my spare ones is sitting behind a fish tank. I took it out 2 weeks ago. And I put it in a jug, and I was going to put it back in because I was cleaning the tank, and I never did. And I can see it still sitting behind. Oh well.
And I hate stupid people is headed out of here, but always a pleasure to see you. And again, I love that name. I couldn't agree more. All right. It keeps blocking people's comments because they're saying his name. Oh, that's funny. Anyways, that's definitely one of my preferred methods. Not necessarily doable if you're brand new to the hobby, you don't have friends in the hobby, you don't have a good, reliable source. Epic Aquarium's what's going on. So we get to kind of...
I have 4 ways.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then I can rant about the problem with all of them after we get done. So what's your next favorite method if you don't have a sponge?
My next favorite is plants, woods, and rocks. The decor of the tank. Take it from one tank that's been sitting in there forever because it's got beneficial bacteria growing all over it. You can't squeeze it, but it's, you can feel the slimy coat on your wood, driftwood, or on a rock on your plants.
The chat's going to love that comment. And we're going with fishless in this cycle that you're doing. No fish in the tank, just plants, woods, and rock from another tank.
Yes, I don't.
Okay.
You're suggesting you put fish from another tank to cycle it?
No, I'm asking if you were doing the fish in cycle with this, or if you're doing the fishless cycle with no fish in the tank.
I cycle all my tanks way before I ever put fish in them.
There you go. I was just asking because that way we could be clear on which one we were discussing. So yes,
right now I have 5 tanks in my fish room. that have been cycling literally for over a month just because I like my tanks really seasoned.
Absolutely. And bearing in mind, new to the hobby, you may not have the opportunity to get used gravel, like Ed was mentioning, but even still, if you're getting new gravel, you're buying the plants, those plants that you're getting from the local pet store, that's going to have some beneficial bacteria on there. If you can get wood out of a tank, that's great. If not, you can just get the wood in there off the shelf. But the plants in there is a huge thing. Getting plants in there is one of the best ways to do a fishless cycle. Typically, my indicator when I'm doing that is when I start seeing, hey, Furloughs Aquatics, and also Multi-Tank Addiction. I saw you in here, buddy. I didn't get to say hi to you earlier. Rebuilding our brand. So many awesome people in here. I'm sorry to those of you I haven't gotten to personally say hi to, but I love you. I see you in here, and I appreciate you being here. Once I start to see algae forming on the glass, that's kind of like okay, I'm in a good spot. Is that about how you feel when you're looking at it and you're going, I wonder if this is ready to go?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I don't know. I think I just let it soak so long. I know it's got to be in there.
So
I am the most patient fish keeper there is. I drive things nuts.
It is. If there was one person that has, sorry, Haley, if you hear this, but if there's one person that would have the patience to mature out and breed rope fish, it would be Ed. He would be waiting that 15 years, no problem, going, that's fine. We'll try in 15 years. Okay.
I'm an extremely patient person, but I've had sponges in my 200-gallon tank that have been in there for almost a year, and I haven't put them in another tank. And they're not even in there for the tank. It's got a big filter system, but they're for my other fish. And I'm always paranoid that I might need to instant cycle, so I always keep those in the 200 hidden away, and because I've got a huge plant canopy on top, so I've got them up in there. And so I think I'm a paranoid person that really likes to take his time.
Absolutely. Tim, have a wonderful day. Appreciate you being here. Always good to see you. Thank you for hanging out with us. Hello, Edgar Reyes. Good to see you as well. John Larson says, if you do not add fish food, and poop, anything you do to a tank will end in the bioload cycle, and bacteria will die in less than a week. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. Things will find a balance, and I'm going to get into my ranty part after we talk about all four of those. And what you're talking about is a big factor in that, in terms of my tank is cycled. Well, is it cycled for one neon tetra, or is it cycled for 5 10-inch Oscars? There's a huge difference in cycled when we get to talking about those things, and I don't think we always make that distinction. And what you're mentioning right there, John, very much comes into play at that level. You will, by default, continue to have bacteria in there, in my opinion, from what I've studied, because as bacteria die off, that then feeds other bacteria. They grow until there's a point there's no longer a food source. Bacteria start to die off. The weaker ones will die off. They will feed the others. So you can retain a minimal cycle that way. That being said, like what Ed's doing, what Ed's talking about with having plants in there a long period of time, once you throw that fish in there, or the couple of fish in there, that's essentially going to jumpstart the cycle you've already got going. Beneficial bacteria can double, without getting into technical details, we'll just say once every 24 hours. It's actually less than that, depending upon if you get into the nitrostomus and the other. They've got different rates. I think one is like 13 hours and the other one's 17. But we'll just say within a day, your beneficial bacteria can double. So if you have enough beneficial bacteria to sustain 1 tetra, within 24 hours, you can create enough beneficial bacteria to sustain 2 tetras, so on and so forth.
Well, and I don't know if you could transfer things from one tank to another without it transferring snails. So I do have snails in all my empty tanks.
Yeah.
There is living critters moving around too.
Yeah. Well, and you've got.
But I do believe in I do sprinkle a little bit of my powdered food in my tanks.
Absolutely. Then you've got. Well, Well, yeah, we'll jump into that one next. So let's talk about, we're doing a fishless cycle. You've got bacteria in a bottle. One of the problems with that is if you don't add a source of continual food for your beneficial bacteria 1 and 2, like we talked about, you can dump that in there and then, I'm not going to add any fish because I want to be safe. The beneficial bacteria will continue to decline or depreciate because they'll reach a maximum growth point of, hey, this is how many we can sustain for the food that we have. And then the old ones start to die off. And that will feed some of them. Well, eventually they run out of food stores. So the weaker ones die off again. That again maintains some of them. So when you're doing things like your bacteria in a bottle, your turbo start, things like that, you want to be testing your water parameters, but you don't want to leave that tank running an extended period of time without some sort of even snails, fish, things like that getting into the tank to help maintain it. Basically, you don't want to get this fire burning really, really hot, really fast, and then not throw any wood on it, just to make that as simple as possible. Again, all things stated are in my opinion. What works for me may not work for you. All blah, 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 blah. All those wonderful things. Let me see. Select Pet says, okay, let's mix it up. Fishroom Fever, what do you think about the companies that say instant cycle in a bottle?
Oh, that's what I was just holding.
Yeah. So
I might have something else here too.
Yes.
Quick start.
Quick start. Correct. So the thing with Quick Start is Quick Start actually says on the bottle that it contains bacteria. It does not, from what I've studied, it does not actually contain the same bacteria as your instant cycle specific bacteria in a bottle does. It's going to have some bacteria in there, but it's not going to have the same thing as your like refrigerated bacteria in a bottle. And that is great stuff there. I've seen a lot of people use that. I think John Kidgy Tropics did a video on it not long ago.
It's crazy cool. It smells.
I got nothing against the stuff, but I'm going to say don't use that and then wait 2 weeks to add any fish in there or add any food sources for your bacteria, because you're kind of defeating the purpose on that.
Yeah, this is another one of those deals where I got these things free, from
Nice.
Buy one, get one free. And I was getting the tap water, to change tap water over, and this came with it. So whenever I'm doing a major changeover, I still give it a cap of that stuff because I figure, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. No harm in it. Amy, I hope your betta is okay. St. Creek Aquatics 2 says, I just sucked up my betta fish while I was changing his water watching you guys. Please don't do that. Please. I hope it's okay.
I also drip that stuff in like a 5-gallon bucket if we're moving fish.
Right.
I put that stuff in there just to kind of help them out a little extra too.
Absolutely. John Cox is saying, Fishroom Fever, the bacteria runs out of O2 before food. It can. Depending upon how you're setting it up and the way you've got your tank running, yes, that can be a problem. There are mixed reviews. So we'll take case in point. The power was out. The hang-on back was off. I turned it on and everything was fine. You could have the same scenario. Somebody else, my power was out. The hang-on back was off. I turned it on and it smelled horrible and everything in my tank is dead. I think then you're getting into bacterial loads, which is something I'm looking forward to talking about. We've only got about 35 minutes left. But bacterial loads are going to play a huge factor in what you need to have in your water to sustain them. Again, looking at enough beneficial bacteria to maintain 1 tetra versus enough beneficial bacteria to maintain a 2-foot common pleco. Huge difference in beneficial bacteria levels there. Furlow's Aquatics says, extra sponge filters and extra rocks or other decorations I usually keep in all my tanks just to be ready in case I have to set up a tank at an emergency or setting up a new tank. Yes. So I actually have even gone so far as to just buy the replacement sponges off of Amazon, because you can get like a 3 and a 4 pack of them really cheap and just have them in a sump or just have them in a tank. And some people go, oh, that looks horrible. Well, I have them in there, and there have even been instances. So, like when I set up the one tank, instead of taking that whole sponge and moving it into a 10-gallon that had been sitting, in the 125 piranha tank for months and months and months, actually took and I cut that sponge in between all the ridges, so I had multiple seeded sponges because I was going to have a very low bio load. And I knew that would be enough beneficial bacteria in theory to sustain what I needed in order to get the sponge filter seeded.
I didn't realize you could do that. That's awesome.
Yep. So I bought several of those. Those also work great for do-it-yourself sponges, but in all honesty, I'm either going to my local fish store or ordering the co-op ones if I'm getting sponge filters, like the full setup. Which is not to say that we may or may not have sponge filters available on their website come springtime, but we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. T-Bones Fishy says, Fishroom Fever, I use API Quick Start, Stress Zyme, and Stress Coat. If you read the back of the bottle, it tells you to use them together every water change. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I'm just going to tell API, unless you want to send them to me, I'm not buying all three of those products for every single water change on all of these tanks. That would bankrupt me before feeding fish would.
What was heard two. What was the third one you're supposed to add?
Quick Start, Stress Zyme, and Stress Coat.
Stress slime?
Stress Zyme, Z-Y-M-E.
I don't know. Well, let me see what I've got. I thought it was.
So yeah,
Stress Coat.
I'm not saying that that's a bad idea or that you shouldn't do it. I think they've got that on there, and they've probably got that formulated out to work coherently with one another in terms of the products. But I'm not doing it. When I do water changes, I'm adding prime to dechlorinate my water, and that's what goes in my water. Don't have any problems. If I see a reason to add some sort of stress coat or a stress zyme or anything like that, then I would add whatever's appropriate. But in terms of just doing a water change, I'm dechlorinating my water with some prime, and it is always good to go. John Cox says, but then you have to buy a new sponge. Yeah, so no, I buy those replacement, just the sponges, not the whole setup, specifically for being able to use them to seed tanks. So like the one that I cut up, I don't have to replace it, so to speak, because that's the purpose of it. So now I have 6, I think it is, multiple smaller cubes that are still seeded that I can move to other tanks. Or I can do the squishy squish in the tank theory.
I'm just
playing with the sponge filters. Gosh, I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to say about them.
No, I was just showing off different size ones. This is my new favorite.
I do like those. I do like those indeed. Yeah. Mike's Aquatics and Things with the $3 super chat, or excuse me, super sticker with a fist bump. Fist bump. I'm getting my workout in, right? I appreciate you, Mike. I really, really do, brother. So we've got about 30 minutes left in the stream. Still got a couple things we want to cover, but this is that new little segment that I wanted to talk about. And first, let me say, if you're not on here this week, there's not a reason that these specific people were or other people were not on this list. It's going to be at least at every Saturday thing. We'll see. Maybe we'll add it to Thursdays. But I want to start talking about every week 5 channels you ought to know about. We've got some wonderful people in this hobby. And as everybody in the chat is well aware, what makes these streams so fun and informative, great places to learn. We've got 69 people watching and 61 thumbs up. So that's awesome. I appreciate you all. For a Saturday, that is really rocking. So thank you very much for that. But we've got a couple people, and they are supporters of the channel in one way or another, but they're also doing really great things on their own channels. Some of them newer than others. But we've got a couple people that are close to some milestones, and then others that I figured would be closer to milestones. Since I've got him pulled up, this is going to be the person that's got the most subscribers out of all of these people. But it's Fantastic Freaks. I was looking for somebody that was close to a milestone on my little list here. He was talking about a giveaway at 400 subscribers. He is at 396 subscribers. He's an awesome dude. He's been a guest on the show before. Have a lot of fun talking to him. Ed needs to kick him out of the Fish Fam Fantasy Football League, though. That way we can... No, I'm just kidding. But he's got some really awesome stuff. He's got puffers. He's got lots of puffers. I know everybody in here loves puffers. And we'll get a link in here. If we could get Fantastic Freaks to that 400 subscribers, it's only 4 people. I know we've got 4 people in here that haven't found their way over to Fantastic. Surely we do out of 69 people. We've got some new names in here that are fairly new to the Fish Fam circulation. This is another cool content creator. Let's refresh that. Thank you, Zen Ginger, for posting the link. I do appreciate it. You can click on that. Oh, there we go. 402. Look at that. You know, it's small things like that. You know, if it wasn't for people going, hey, you should check out Fishroom Fever, I wouldn't be where I'm at. You know, the support of the community is what helps us all grow. And that is in turn what helps us all learn, slash just be goofy guys that hang out and gals that talk about fish and plants and shrimp and all the stuff we love. So awesome. I appreciate y'all doing that. And again, I'm not going to say you have to subscribe to these people. That's not what I'm doing. These are people that I enjoy watching their videos. And I think that you probably will too. If you look at it and it's not for you, don't subscribe. Same thing with mine. If you look at my channel and it's not for you, I don't expect you to subscribe. It doesn't do you any good and it doesn't do me any good. But very much appreciate that. And congrats, Fantastic Freaks, on the 400 subscribers. Again, we need to get you on a stream soon, buddy. Talk to you again. Got another gentleman here. Now, this guy, if you know who Ben Ochart is, and I would say most of you probably do.
I figured he'd have more than 400 subs.
I would have too. This guy here has recently started up. And when I listen to his videos, I hear a lot of Ben Ochart. Not that Rico Stan is not his own person, but like a lot of the inflections and tones, I've definitely had to check my phone a couple of times. He's just recently started his channel. Isabel Chasse, I'm sure I screwed that up. Says, just discover your channel from Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. I appreciate that. Secret History, he's an awesome dude. We got to get him on here one of these days. I love talking to him. I was hanging out with him on Father Fish. And Black Label Carling says she's number 410 over there on Fantastic Freaks. That's awesome. Very, very cool. You know, the more good fish content creators we can get to grow in our space, the more YouTube, I think, will recognize us. You know, we're a very small niche on YouTube. Fish keepers are. You've got people like Corey with a bajillion subscribers, as Ed would say. You've got, you know, awesome people like KG Tropicals. But in terms of the fish hobby, we're a very small niche in terms of everything on YouTube. So I think the more that we can, you know, kind of poke YouTube and say, hey, there's a lot of fish people on here, I think the more that that's going to help the community as a whole. Y'all are awesome. Peeps Lost Sheep, again, I love that name. So 69 watching, 69 likes. You all are amazing, and I appreciate that. But Rico Stan and Select Pet has dropped his link in here, has recently started doing videos. I was at 93 subscribers. I'm sure we probably have 7 people. We can get him that 100 subscriber milestone. I know for me, when I first started, as with a lot of people, breaking into that triple digits is a huge victory. So if we could do that, that would be awesome. Again, he's got really cool stuff. He actually just did an unboxing. I watched it earlier. He got some stuff with the Chattanooga Ed and the Nocturnal Feeding Show logo. I don't know if you saw that or not, but I really enjoy watching his videos. I really enjoy listening to his stuff. I listen to more YouTube than I watch. So anytime I find somebody that's got a good listening voice, I really want to call them out. And he's done some huge things to support. I mean, he's, you know, he didn't even really want it to be public, but, you know, he did the donation for the giveaway the other day, just because he loves the community. He wanted to show some support. And he said, people don't need to know it was me. And I'm like, well, I'm going to tell them. So, Rico Stan, I appreciate you, brother. And I love what you're doing over there on your channel. And boom, 100 subscribers. That man is now in the triple digits. The other thing is, I want you all to understand from a creator's perspective, it's about impossible to find small channels. Even if you know the person, you're searching for that person, it's about impossible to find them when they're down lower numbers on subscribers. So once you kind of hit that 100 subscribers, that helps you be more findable. And then, you know, the further up you go, the more videos you put out, the easier it is for people to find you. So a lot of times, if you've got, you know, less than 100 subscribers, unless there's a link, people can know the name of your channel and still not be able to find you. So, and that's an issue I'm having with like Aquatic Marine, my local fish store. They're not at 100 yet. I'm going to start doing some work on their channel and doing some cameos over there. So we're going to have to fix that. I'm going to burn through these quickly so we can get back on topic, but I've been shown so much love from this community. I felt like this would be a fun little thing to do every week to help return some of that love back to some awesome people. Number 3, we have Mike's Aquatics and Things. Now, Mike was at 97 subscribers last I looked. Mike's
now,
another guy. Yeah,
are we putting links to all these for everybody? Yes,
we are getting links. We got the link in there for Rico Stan. And like I said, there are probably 30 content creators in the channel now, if not more. I just can't sit here and tell you every single one of them, every single streamer would become a horrible place to hang out. And that's why I've decided I'm going to do 5. 10 is going to be more than I want to subject people to, I guess. I think 5 is a good number. And there's no reason that anybody is or isn't on this list this week. This was just some people that I've recently watched their stuff, or I've talked to them and I said, hey, they're close to milestones, or I really want to help them out. But Mike's Aquatics and Things, let me refresh this. He was at 97 subscribers. Again, this close to breaking that triple digits. He got these absolutely amazing, I almost said multis, shell dwellers. I won't give you too many details on them. He's got a video, but Ed, myself, HC Aqua, and Mike were all sitting around looking at these shellies on Aquavid during a stream going, man, I want them. No, I want them. No, I want them. And he got them. So I would say go check that out because that's very, very awesome.
They're beautiful. I like his video. I thought that he had a lot more people than that. I like how he has like this thing where you kind of like feel like you're walking through a spaceship tubes.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I wish I had spaceship tubes to walk around in.
Right. Oh, and he just had multi-fry also.
It's like human size hamster tubes. It just makes me relaxed. I like it.
All right. Mike, he hit that 100. He's triple digits now. Should be able to find him on YouTube when you search him, even if you've not subscribed to him. So that's going to help a little bit. Again, just showing love because people showed me love and said, hey, there's this new guy. Kind of weird, but go see what he's doing. And here we are now. I've got, let's see. We talked about Mike. He's got his triple digits. Congratulations, brother. Rico Stan, congratulations, brother. You got your triple digits. We talked about Fantastic Freaks. He hit his 400. Congratulations on that. I've got 2 more here. This next guy, I really thought that he was a lot closer to 100 than he was. But I really want to throw some attention his way because this guy is not just a huge supporter of me. He is a huge supporter of Fish Fam. He moderates on channels like KG Tropicals, which is where he kind of debuted on YouTube with the members only behind the scenes look at his stuff. Furlough's Aquatics. He's a really cool dude. I really enjoy watching his videos. He's just now getting into them. But if you've not checked out Furlough's Aquatics, I would definitely recommend you do. And again, same with everybody. If you look at it and you go, that's not my thing, I understand. But I think if you check him out, you'll like it. He's at 59 subscribers, and that surprised me because Eric's one of those people that's been around for forever. He recently changed from Eric Furlough to Furlough's Aquatics. But awesome dude. Awesome dude. And we got another member in here. Look at that. Greg, welcome to the team, my friend. Becoming a member. I appreciate you. The support from this community, it's overwhelming. I can't thank you all enough. It's never expected, but it's always very much appreciated. And I love you guys. That's what makes it possible for, us to be able to do the things we do, to be on here, to try and bring information along with, the goofiness that a lot of people like, just the laid back feel of our streams. And there's a link for Furlough's Aquatics. Thank you, Select Pet Candy Overhauls. Candy, the lovely Candy Overhauls. The girl with no content, as her banner says. I'm surprised she's not at 1,000 subscribers. We're not talking about her tonight, though, because she doesn't make content, but she is a pillar of this Fish Fam community. I'm just waiting for the day. One day, something's going to come out on Candy's channel, but that's another story. But yeah, Furlough's Aquatics, Eric, dude, if you're still in here, love what you're doing over there. I appreciate your support throughout the Fish Fam, not just here on the Fishroom Fever channel. And I think that we're going to help you out. We'll get you closer. We got you to 67. I appreciate each and every one of you that checked him out. And I'd like to have you on the show in the near future, Eric. You and I can talk about that in messages. I've got one more person here. She's not even necessarily trying to do a creator channel, so to speak. It's more of she's uploading her fish videos just to kind of have them out there and share what she's got going on. But I like the style in which she does it. So case in point, she set up the plumbing for this pond system, and I'm not going to go into detail. You can check out her video. But she sets it up, and then she's like, hey, here's what I did, but here's where I got my idea from. And then she links it back to the gentleman that actually did the video. And that is Sarah M. Snow. Now, she's got 3 subscribers. Again, she's not trying to make a big thing out of YouTube at this point. I know she's just kind of like, hey, I'm just posting stuff for fun and showing y'all what I'm doing. But she's been a huge supporter in me. I've had some good conversations with her about her fish and getting her plants set up and her pond. And I really enjoy what she's doing. And the way that she did her pond plumbing, I really, really liked it. Like, I looked at it and went, that looks like something I could get behind. Right down to how she hid her filtration system. Again, like I said, 3 subscribers. I figure we can throw some more on there and some more people will see what she's got going on. Maybe she runs with it, maybe she doesn't. But it's somebody that I wanted to say thank you to. And
I'm number 4.
Really like watching her stuff. And I think you all will. I know we've got tons of fish people in here, and next week we're going to talk about 5 more. I'll try and get it to where it's a more condensed version so I don't take up as much of you all's time. But we're all fish nerds. That's why we're here. We enjoy all different aspects of the hobby and watching different people's opinions and styles. So this just gives you all some more stuff. And, like, we've got some new people that came in. Thank goodness we're always getting new people coming into the fish community. So it's nice to be able to give them some stuff to go look at. I could literally sit here and 1, 2, 3, probably half the chat, if not 3/4 of the chat, they've got channels. So if you're brand new and you're just kind of hanging out listening, you can click on those names and see what's going on. We're going to jump right back into the topic. Again, I'm going to try and make that a more condensed form going forward. Maybe it's like a 5-minute thing, if that. But I appreciate each and every one of you, those of you that went and checked them out, those of you that are supporting me, and those of you that we talked about, and all of you that we didn't talk about this particular week. But those are my 5 people you ought to know about in fish keeping. Back onto the nitrogen cycle. I'm sorry on the replay. If you've made it this far, God love you and thank you for hanging out. But back to the nitrogen cycle. We've talked about moving over sponge filters so that we can instant cycle a tank. We've talked about doing a fishless cycle. You will see people do a fish in cycle would be your third option, if you will. I do not recommend this topic or this style necessarily, and that's why we're not really going to talk about it. When I talk about a fish in cycle, I'm referring to starting up a tank with no seeded media, no bio boosters, the status quo of a fish in cycle, because now we have bacteria in a bottle like we discussed. But even before that, people have been doing fish in cycles for a very long time. And I really don't recommend that. You need to at least get your initial signs of ammonia being converted to nitrite with an I, NO2, and then nitrite being converted to nitrate with an A, NO3. Once you see that happening, then you can start adding some fish. Zen Ginger is headed out. Have a great night. Zen Ginger, I was going to put you on here, but quite frankly, everybody and their mama should know about you. And if they don't, we're still going to talk about you next week. But I mean, you're kind of another one of those staples to the community, and I appreciate everything you do. Zen is probably probably my biggest supporter. The Zens are amazing people, and we'll talk about them another time. But I'll never thank them enough for everything they do for being and for the channel. But I saw Zen was heading out, so I want to say good night, Zen. I hope you have a great day. I know Mr. Zen's birthday is coming up. Was it today? I'm going to have to look after this. Mr. Zen's got a birthday coming up sometime soon. So for those of you that know Mr. Zen, make sure you keep track of that. But with a fish in cycle, I'm never going to recommend you go buy a tank, all of the accoutrements, your gravel lights, all that, and your fish on the same day. I would never recommend doing that. You would need to get it set up and then do either the plants like we discussed, or you can do the fishless cycle with putting fish food in there, something that's going to cause an ammonia source. You can add pure ammonia. Years ago, there was this thing about peeing in a tank. Never tried it, but people did it. I would feel more comfortable if you got your initial cycle going. So we're calling it, you're actually getting your transition from ammonia to nitrite to nitrate. Once you get that, then yes, Bird Garden is an amazing channel. I went with some smaller channels tonight. Now I know Bird Garden is just getting started. He's got Pond Life, but Bird Garden's one of those people that, maybe we'll just have him on the stream and talk about his channel. Not that we wouldn't have any of those other people, but I haven't got to talk to Rack in a while.
I want to play a bird game with Bird Garden. Absolutely.
I'm going to try and grab this. We've got about 13 minutes left, and I haven't even gotten to my rant yet.
We should set that up for Thanksgiving.
Right. But I don't recommend a fish in cycle, especially if you're new to the hobby. If you've been doing it a long time, you can probably make it work with like a very small fish, very small bio load to a point that it's not going to cause harm to the fish. Abolished Aquatics says, "Are you even a real aquarist until you pee in your tank?" I'm not. All I'm going to say is, Abolished, are you even a real aquarist until you've had a chunk of flesh go missing to one of your fish? Talk to me then. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm not going to recommend it, and that's why we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. If you're listening to this and you're trying to figure out how to cycle your aquarium, let's just skip that one. Listen to some of the other stuff. If you really want to do it that way, I suggest you do a lot of research. So we've talked about. Go ahead, buddy.
That was kind of a lot like, though, how we did it in, I think the late 70s was. I don't know if my dad truly knew this, the nitrogen cycle. But we would take two fish and throw it into the tank after we felt like, we set all of our water out for a week. So we never used tap water. My dad didn't believe in any type of chemicals or anything. And we would buy two fish, and they would be like the test dummies. Yeah. And I think they were actually cycling the tank or starting the cycle.
You're absolutely right. And like Rockford mentioned, that's how we always did it.
Okay.
I'm not crapping on that because a lot of people that have been in the hobby a while, we've done that before. There are just so many more viable options nowadays. If you're coming into the hobby 2020, 2021, after this is out, I just don't feel that that's the most viable way to do it. I really don't. But there was a time when that was the status quo. Absolutely right. As the hobby develops and progresses, we learn more things. We have more things become available. And let me see if I could find it. Where was it? Rockford Fish Keeping said fish cycling is the norm. It's what we always did back in the day. Yeah. And John Larson says, John Cox, I agree. The 60s and 70s, I did not have any chemicals. Water change was in a trash can with a heater for 48 hours. Absolutely. And like Ed mentioned, it used to be you just let your water sit out. Is there anything wrong with doing that? No. Now that we have all these wonderful things like Prime and other dechlorinators, is that a necessity like it was 20 years ago? No. Is it going to hurt to have your water sit for 48 hours or a week? It's not. But we have advanced the hobby, if you will, so that there are better options. So if you're brand new, I wouldn't recommend it. If you're somebody like, John Larson, John Cox, Ed, Rockford Fish Keeping, so many people that have been doing this for so long, Uh, Isabel, I see you there. Somebody that's been doing this for a long time, I have the utmost most faith in you, kind of like I touched on, to be able to do that without killing a fish. But I think all of us can probably agree, if somebody walked up to you today and said, never kept a fish in my life, I want to start a fish tank. Should I go buy my tank and my fish and everything today? We can all probably agree that we're going to tell them not to get the fish today, same day as they buy their tank. And if not, oh well, we don't have to agree, right? Isabel said, I confess I peed in my tank once, no fish in, to have green water. Then it jumped on me. Never worked, but the duckweed died. True story. LOL. There you go. I never tried it, but now I could say I've heard from somebody that has.
It's not just an urban myth.
Right. There we go. I appreciate you sharing us with that, Isabel. Yeah, figured out the cure for duckweed. Perfect. Yeah, so if you got duckweed, just go pee in your tanks. No. Fantastic Freaks is headed out of here, so I want to grab this real quick. Fantastic Freaks says, bye, everyone. Date night with Miss Fantastic. Have a great night. Enjoy the date night. And thank you for the $2 super chat. And just thank you for what you do for the hobby. Thank you for support here, supporting the fish fam, and what you got going on over at your channel.
I hope he takes a Pizza King. Which it sounds like a pizza place, but it's not. It's a steak restaurant in Omaha that has the best prime rib in North America. It's so crazy. It's called. It was started way back when pizza they thought was gourmet, and so he named it Pizza Street or Pizza King. But it's amazing.
I don't know if John Cox is saying he's peed in his tank many times, or he's told many people to get the fish on the same day. I'm not sure.
Oh.
But he said, I've done it many times, Fishroom Fever, and I don't know exactly which one that related to. So, oh goodness, I've completely lost all train of thought with 7 minutes left to go.
You know what? There was a question by Rockford, and he was wondering about a sponge filter size. Do you know where can you find different size sponges? I know that it's Swiss of Tropic Swiss or Swiss of Tropics. They are nothing but foam, and they will cut it to any size. But it might be expensive to go through them.
Yeah, if you're looking at different size, like replacement sponges, so just about everything's available on Amazon. I'll give the general disclaimer here. Check your local fish store if you've got a good mom and pop fish store. Shout out Aquatic Marine. See if they've got what you need. If they don't have it, check Amazon. Aquarium Co-op's another great source for different filtration and filter pads and stuff like that. I didn't see exactly what you were after, so I'm not entirely sure. But you can find just about any size of any PPI or pour filter on Amazon, either the entire setup or just the replacement. Style, shape, sizes, all that. Tennessee H2O says, hey, James, Fishroom Fever. I got 2 Synodontis Maltese at Aquatic Marine today. Do you have any tips? Yeah, I see what you're doing there, buddy.
Just wanted to throw this up for the Tennessee guys.
Tennessee Fish Mafia all the way. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you were shopping up there at Aquatic. Kenny's a great guy.
And they're kind of sponsoring this episode.
Congrats on the Synodontis. Ed, I think you've had more experience with Synodontis than I have. You do. You want to take this one?
Sure. I don't know. I like they're just like pretty much a normal catfish. I don't know what he's gonna they can handle just about any fish. I mean, you can put them with your Africans and they're not going to bother them. I don't know if it's in the African's mind that they just know that not to eat them or what it is, but you can put them in with much bigger fish and they'll be all right. Even though I'm not going to recommend you do that in case they get ate. But they're just pretty much just like any other catfish that I've found.
Okay.
I mean, I can tell you how to breed them or whatever, but just for care, I think they're pretty much like I treat them the same as like a Cory cat.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, if you want to know how to breed them, talk to Chattanooga Ed. He'll be happy to walk you through it. But I think that covers the general care. And awesome. Tennessee H2O says, love the channel. Got some of the stickers from Aquatic Marine. They have a little thing there with my stickers on it, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you very much, Tennessee H2O. Rockford Fish Keeping came back and said, what I want is to replace the fine sponge filter with a coarse, but it has to fit the side of tank sponge filters with a smaller hole than ATI sponge. So you've got a couple different options. You could look around on Amazon to see if you can find the coarseness and the diameter. Chances are you could probably find it, but it's going to be a headache getting the exact thing you're looking for. What I would personally do if I were looking to do that is I would buy a coarse filter sponge pad, depending upon the PPI you're looking for, either the co-op one or on Amazon. You can find those real easy in every porosity that they make. I mean, it's all there. I would cut the size I need, cut that smaller square out, and then I would wrap it around. In all honesty, if you look at a lot of the coarse sponges, and this may even apply to the co-op ones, a lot of those coarse filter sponges, it's actually a piece of pad that they've rolled together and then they've like sewn it into a circular shape or cylindrical shape. So I would get some pad that's exactly what you want for porosity, and then I would just turn it into a cylindrical shape. And then there are a lot of different ways that you could cap off the end with that. You could either lay it over and then attach it that way. You could just pinch it off at the end. There are a ton of different ways you could complete that. But that's honestly how a lot of the coarse sponges are made. It's actually a pad that's rolled and then attached to itself.
And if you just want somebody else to do it for you, Swiss Tropics, they will cut the foam. They do every type of foam there is.
There you go.
So if you call them up, they'll get it exactly what you want because they do everything's by hand.
Tennessee H2O, you can contact me on Facebook Messenger. I am Fishroom Fever on Facebook. You can send me a message on there. I talk to a lot of people in here on Messenger throughout the day. Or you can send me an email. Messenger is going to be more for a fluid conversation, random once in a while question that I may not see within the next day or so, email. But you're more than welcome to do that either way.
There's a shot of their warehouse. They have like every grade of foam there is.
Very nice.
I've thought about going to see if they would hire me at one time just because I've spent 20 years cutting foam, so I really know how to cut foam.
Kim Carwick says, I went to get a sponge filter for my 29-gallon from Aquarium Co-op, just not so sure what size to get. And Candy did share the Swiss Tropicals link up there. Thank you for that, Candy. Very much appreciated. And Candy, if you would like to drop the link for the Aquarium Co-op sponge that Corey recommends, it is not the biggest sponge. Well, I thought it would be recommending the medium. No, even for bigger tanks, he's recommending the medium ones because he doesn't like trying to get the big one into a bag. So Corey has gone over to saying you should. She did that too. All right, perfect. Yeah, there's the foam pad. Yeah, so unless he's changed it again, but last I knew, Corey was still recommending the medium sponge. And if that's not enough, go with more than one of them. I personally like the large ones. I personally would say get the large one. That's what I have. Personal opinion. Corey is the guy that makes it. He's the one recommending getting the medium sponge. I personally would do the large. Difference of opinion. I get what he's saying, and I can't disagree that the medium sponge filter is a lot easier to bag if you're going to get it into a fish bag before you pull it out. It's easier to get your hand around. I can't, disagree with those things. If I'm going to buy it, I buy the larges. I tend to oversize my filters anyways. And Candy says I like large too. So personal opinion, large. Most people in here are saying large.
Yeah. I've bought the large.
Corey would say get the medium, but I'm going to vote large on that.
I need to buy a Aquarium Co-op sponge because I've got about 15 of them in tanks, but I don't want to pull them out of a tank because they're going to be wet. I used to always have one, but I used my last one. But I need to get one as a demonstration, just to have it on hand.
I'd like to leave you all with something to consider since I didn't get to rant about this. We touched very briefly on it. No matter how you choose to cycle your aquarium, keep in mind your beneficial bacteria load. And what I mean by that is, as we talked about earlier, do you have the beneficial bacteria in your tank to support one cardinal tetra? Do you have the beneficial bacteria in your tank to support 1 2-foot common pleco, which you shouldn't have in your tank unless you know what you're doing and you've got a reason to have it in there. Don't get it to clean your tank. We will talk about bioloads, true cycling, how to get the correct beneficial bacteria balance, and how to get higher beneficial bacteria load into a tank than what you would normally have on a future live stream. I want to go through and say a huge thank you to everybody tonight that contributed. Ed, if you want to throw out any thank yous while I'm getting that pulled up, you're welcome to do so, my friend.
Yeah, well, all of our mods were amazing tonight. Thank you guys so much for doing such a great job. We really appreciate it. We couldn't do this without you, especially, I mean, even, helping us out with that list of 5 guys that,
Yes.
That was spur of the moment. You guys had no clue, and you did a wonderful job. Thank you guys so much.
Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody on this new member list because we had some awesome new members. We had Greg, Kevin Marquis, and Fantastic Freaks. Fantastic Freaks returning to the fold. The other 2 brand new members. I appreciate you all. Be sure when you get a chance, go check out the behind-the-scenes footage. That way you can get some bang for your buck there. I do have a members-only video that as soon as it is ready to go public, I will make that public. So sometime tonight, YouTube will say, hey, it's all uploaded and good to go. Be on the lookout for that. And of course, you can use those member emojis in the chat as well as on comments if you comment on videos. Thank you all for joining the Fishroom Fever family. I want to go through and say thank you for the super chats because I would be a horrible person if I didn't do that. But as Ed has said, a huge thank you to the moderator team. You guys do an amazing job each and every week. I can't thank you enough for the support that you all give for the channel and what you do, and just being able to on the fly, answer questions, throw out links, and maintain some semblance of sanity. I very much appreciate it. Go ahead, buddy.
I also want to thank John from Select Pets and Priscilla from Priscilla MK for making us this awesome sign. Now, I know we accidentally got the extra E in there, but hopefully we'll get that out. This will be the Tennessee guys. It's Tennessee people that it's people that aren't Tennessee guys helping us, and it's so nice of you. That's going to be on the back of all of our shirts.
We're going to figure out how to fix that.
Yeah, I'm going to plug. Maybe. But, Bob and I are going to go and see if they'll replace it for us for free.
Right. I want to say a huge thank you to Mike's Aquatics and thanks for the $1 Super Pooper Chat, S for the $3 Super Chat, Select Pet for the $1 Super Sticker as well, pooping on the stream. Fantastic Freaks through that $10 Super Chat out there. I know he's gone, but again, thank you for that. Followed by Mike's Aquatics and thanks again with the $3 Super Sticker. Fantastic Freaks once more with the $2 Super Chat heading out the door. All of you all here, I love you. I appreciate you, each and every one of you, the watchers, the lurkers, the listeners, the contributors, questioners, and commentators. Thank you all very much for each and everything you do to help support this channel and the community. I'm going to turn it over to Ed for his awesome little outro, and we'll get out of here.
Guys, don't be afraid to get your hands wet. Keep those tanks clean.
Absolutely. And until next time, keep your fish healthy. Keep yourselves healthy. Catch yourself a little Fishroom fever. Take care, everybody.